but I have been struggling a lot in the last few years, and I feel like I'm struggling at a point where it's maybe not normal and maybe some changes need to happen. Hello, welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather. A lot of you may or may not have seen our Raising Rabbits series. I made a series about how to raise meat rabbits quite a few winters ago, and I've gained a lot of new subscribers through that playlist in one way or another. And sometimes when you have a lot of people sort of looking up to you as their inspiration and as their guide for something, and that thing no longer is working out the way that it used to, it can be really hard to be open and transparent about that. I have tried my best to be really open with you guys over, the course of our YouTube career, because this thing, homesteading, is really difficult. It comes with a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice, and sometimes you can do a lot of work and make a lot of sacrifice and still get nothing in return. And that can feel really disheartening. Aw, look at her, she's bathing her baby. What a cutie. Good job, Sausage. So, if you're not familiar with our Rabbitry, this is it. This is a new Rabbitry space that we put up this year, and I love it. We've got 6 does hanging here. There's one down at the end, and I do have my bucks in a separate area. I do raise Californian meat rabbits here, and then you can see I've got some that are, I call them my pretty bunnies. They're kind of mutt rabbits. We keep them because they breed really well, and we like their fur quality. Just look how adorable these babies are, you guys. Super cute, that's for sure. I know you want a treat, don't you? We had actually started out with rabbits like this that we just got at our local Rural King, or we bought them from the local Amish, who don't necessarily have, the best of the best breeding stock a lot of times, and those rabbits worked fine for quite a while. One thing that I was noticing though is that we couldn't necessarily grow them out to a good size in a good time frame. It took us around 16 weeks to get a good sized rabbit, and by good size I mean around 5 pounds. With rabbits you have about a 50% loss rate as far as butchering time, so the meat and the bones together are about 50% of the animal's live weight. And in order to achieve that 5 pounds, we had to wait about 16 weeks. And the rabbits in that time frame went through a lot of feed. So I was really aiming for efficiency when I brought the Californians home, and they are very good at converting feed into muscling very, very quickly and efficiently. Genetically, a good Californian will get to a 5 pound weight in about 8 to 10 weeks. That's the standard, and these rabbits are very good at that. Problem being, I think, is that they're so good at that sometimes they can put on excess weight and potentially have breeding issues, potentially have mothering issues, and I've been experiencing that in the last couple of years, and I have tried to be as transparent as possible about that, but it can get really disheartening because there's a lot of people out on YouTube that aren't only watching YouTube to learn, but a lot of people watch YouTube who are actually very good at the thing. I've got people who are on my YouTube channel making comments and suggestions that have been raising rabbits way longer than I've been alive, and there's a ton of value in that. I really appreciate that, but it also can be quite intimidating to somebody who's actually quite new to the thing, even though I do teach about raising rabbits. I guess we'll come down here since we are talking about these bunnies in particular, my Californians. It's not unusual for breeders of any type of rabbit to sometimes have trouble breeding. The rabbit sometimes won't lift for whatever reason, and there's a lot of how-tos on how to get your rabbits to breed. Now, in the past, I have assumed that my rabbits weren't willing to breed because of putting on too much weight. I don't breed my rabbits over the summertime. When I have done so, they've had enough body condition plus babies in them that the heat stress was just way too much for them. And so I think that maybe not breeding these rabbits that frequently allows them to just keep putting on weight. They put fat around their organs, and they don't always have sizable litters because of that. It can really affect their fertility. Now, this doe is a doe that recently had 11 kits. This is C doe, and you can probably tell she doesn't have her nest box in there anymore. We recently lost C doe's entire litter. one by one. And I'm not exactly sure what happened, but that was really disheartening. We had all of our rabbits bred, and all but 2 of them had really small litters or no litters at all. So it was really nice to have an 11 kit litter out of her, and I don't really know what happened to the babies. I have experienced things like weaning enteritis. That has been when I've had rabbits out on the ground and on fresh pasture. What weaning enteritis is when the babies start to wean off of mother's milk and they start eating things like pellets or hay or fresh grass. They can get kind of an inflammation of their gut from the real quick change in what they're consuming, and that sometimes is the culprit when you get a random dead older kid. These kids really weren't old enough for something like that, and there didn't seem to be anything wrong with them, except I did notice that when they really started to get a little bit lackluster and lost their vibrance, it looked like they maybe were starting to distend a little bit in their belly and get almost like a water belly situation, but I don't know what happened there. The main issue really hasn't been kids just randomly dying. It's been the rabbits either not breeding or having smaller litters, and I think potentially it's still that some of my rabbits are a little bit too fat. There is also something widely talked about when it comes to breeding rabbits called summer sterility. And some people say that this isn't a thing, but more people than not experience the sterility of their bucks when the outside temperatures are around 85 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, at least in our area. I do know a rabbit breeder who lives in Washington, Darling and Grit Homestead. If you are not following them, follow them. They've got creme d'argents and silver foxes. Their rabbits are beautiful. Their rabbitry is beautiful. But she has noticed that her bucks have sort of a sterility if the nighttime temps are above about 40 degrees. Very interesting. I was speaking with a couple people this morning about regional differences and the way that the rabbits kind of adapt to those regions and the different ways that they really respond to different stressors like heat, like cold, things like that. So in our area and in our circumstance, we do experience a heat sterility, and so the smaller litters could be attributed to that. But honestly, at this point where it's been years of struggles, where previously I had a few years of no struggles. Rabbits generally are pretty easy to breed. They're definitely very easy to process, but I have been struggling a lot in the last few years, and I feel like I'm struggling at a point where it's maybe not normal and maybe some changes need to happen. So what I've decided to do is not stop breeding rabbits. I love breeding rabbits. We love the meat. We really like playing around with the furs and things, but I am going to do a little bit of a shift of focus. I am going to get out of my Californians, and I am on a wait list for some silver fox rabbits. I'm on a wait list for a trio. I may go ahead and call her and tell her I would like 2 trios if I can manage it, just to completely get rid of the Californians. I talked with her about potentially, crossing the 2, but I think silver fox may have a little bit more of what we're looking for. They're not quite as big bodied. They do take a little bit longer to grow out. They do have the pretty furs, and I feel like at this point I do need to kind of start back at ground zero with some new rabbits and see how they do. Now, she did tell me that I'm not going to be able to really pick up my trio until around March, and at that point they'll be about 8 or 9 weeks old. This breeder also does not breed over the summer for the same reasons that I don't. They do live in this area, and so that was kind of nice to see that someone else was experiencing the same thing and also pivoted their breeding program in the same way. So these rabbits won't be bred until fall of next year, but we should be seeing them in a few months. So what I'm going to do with the current rabbitry is limp along with what I have, because we do still need rabbit meat. We still do really enjoy raising rabbits, but it might be kind of a struggle bus for this winter again. Last year was a struggle bus. I feel like the year before we were starting to really kind of struggle with success in our Californians specifically. The pretty bunnies that we have are fed and treated the same way, and they've done fine. These particular bunnies in here are actually half Californian and half like Rex Lops, whatever promptly technically is. And she has 4, but 1 is here in the nest box. And they're quite big. I'll have to put this rabbit's age up on the screen, but she's been doing a really good job. They've been very healthy and I have been quite pleased. So what we maybe are seeing here is a little bit of hybrid vigor. I don't know, but I'll take it. And that's one thing that's really made me not sure about exactly what's going on. Of course, there could be things that I'm doing that could be causing some issues with our rabbitry. I talked about it in a vlog recently, but I'll mention it again. I did have a doe that kindled one deceased kit recently, and it had been deceased a while. She had been experiencing symptoms that looked like could be pyometra, which is a uterine infection. She could have gotten the infection several different ways. Someone had mentioned it could have been from a breeding injury. I don't necessarily think it was related to that, but it's not impossible. But also it could have been that we feed or water our rabbits, or did water our rabbits, using our rain catchment, which we did not treat that water. But, you know, the possibility is there that something could have been brewing in that system. So we are giving them hose water at this point. But again, it was just another Californian with an issue, while my other bunnies, my mutts, are fine. Could be something to do with hybrid vigor. I know that that's a well-documented kind of phenomenon, but I am thankful that our struggles have not been rabbitry-wide. We've had these little dudes to fall back on, and that has been a blessing for sure. This rabbit here, her name is Jumper, and we've had Jumper a while. Jumper is a great mama. She recently had a small litter of 3. Her 3 babies are doing really well. And normally I don't rebreed my rabbits until they have weaned their current litter. But because we're working with rabbits that haven't kindled or have kindled small litters, I am breeding closer together than I normally do, so we can up our numbers a little bit. These guys are built for production, and this small litter of 3 really isn't taking a lot out of her, so I am going to see if she will rebreed for us today. Her name is Jumper because she will jump out of here. Watch out, baby. Go on. Go on. Move, move, move. Her kits are also kind of wily. Dude. No, ma'am. You're okay. That's a rabbit scream. It's the only defense that they have. And this litter likes to use it. Are you a little boy or a little girl? Size comparison with that previous litter. These guys are a little bit younger, but not by much. You are a little buck. You're a loud little buck. I wouldn't be against keeping a doe and crossing that doe with my new silver fox buck. We'll see what I do, guys. Are you a doe? At this age, it's so hard to tell. That one might be a doe. You might be a doe. We'll have to see when they get a little bit older. But let's grab Mama, see if she'll breed. Sometimes they don't when they have a litter on them. That's been my experience. But promptly here, this pretty bunny, this Lop, she did breed the other day. So score 1 again for the mutt rabbits, of course. All right, sweet girl. Yep. Yay. You're all right. Yep. Great. Well, good. We've got that to look forward to at least. I need to see if Cedo will breed. Maybe we'll go grab her. Nope. She's not having it. Samson is so cute, but he's getting older. Come here, girl. No, she's tucking her butt. Lincoln knows he's next. I know, baby. That was a good one. She lifted real high. So, more babies out of Sausage and Jumper in about 31 days. In here, as far as rabbits that have been rebred, this is Beto. She is rebred. We talked about Promptly, she's rebred. Cedo won't lift. Bow is rebred. Dumpling is rebred, and then Sausage. We saw her with Lincoln. So that's good. There are babies coming, and some babies are coming before the end of Vlogmas, and so we'll see those, hopefully, fingers crossed, coming up. But if we have small litters again and more struggles, it wouldn't surprise me. Let's expect the worst, but hope for the best. Dumpling here never kindled at all, even though she was exposed to a buck. We're struggling over here. I do have a remedy, but the remedy is a long time coming, so we're limping along. As always, I like my channel to be a place of community, and I'm sure that there are many rabbit breeders watching this video that would like to hear and get experiences from other rabbit breeders. So if you're comfortable sharing your experience and your struggles, please do so in the comments section down below. Remember that there are regional differences with things. Really, nothing with homesteading is a one-size-fits-all, and so I think that is one of the reasons that it's really good to hear and see other people's experiences. So let us know how your rabbitry situation is going down below. I'll see you guys again soon.